Hello friend, Crudless here. Just want to pop in to share my thoughts and first impressions on the Demon Hunter starting area of Mardum, the Shattered Abyss, and the Vault of the Wardens refitted to suit the Demon Hunter starting experience. Now in the video I'm going to go through the experience I had with Mardum and the Vault of the Wardens, and also I'm going to talk about how the Demon Hunter felt to me personally, and my thoughts on how Blizzard implemented different things like questing, the lore, and stuff like that surrounding the experience in its whole. Now obviously this video will contain spoilers for the Demon Hunter starting area questline, so if you want to get spoiled then just exit the video and check it out later after you're done with the area. Let's get the facts down first though. You start out with the Demon Hunter at level 98. It does require the prerequisite of having a level 70 character on the realm where you create a Demon Hunter. Now with that in mind, it's kind of clear that the class itself is intended for people that have some experience with the game already. People that have played for up to max level, for example, or people that have gained some experience on how classes basically work. And you can feel that in the gameplay of the Demon Hunter. They do have more movement-related abilities, but I kind of view that as a advanced skill of sorts, moving around precisely and being oriented in the situations in battles. Kind of view that as the most important skill in the game. That and rotations, of course, but that's not so important in the starting area. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. The Demon Hunter starting area took me about 2 hours to finish those two areas, just taking my time reading everything. So if you just speed through the leveling process there, it'll probably take you about an hour, around an hour to finish that place off. And you'll be good to go at level 100. You do have to go back and get your garrison and stuff if you want to do that, though I don't think most people will when Legion launches. So Mardum starts out with a cutscene of you're talking to Illidan in the first person. I really enjoyed that fact that you kind of start out immediately being immersed into your character, getting the view of what happened at the Black Temple, and you kind of get sent by Illidan into this portal to Mardum, the prison that used to be the prison of demons that Sargeras used to capture these dudes back when he was a good guy. And now we're here and we're supposed to retrieve the Sargerite keystone immediately. He basically tells us about that immediately after we get into the cutscene. Go get the Sargerite keystone right after we get to Mardum. And the area in itself is pretty beautifully designed. It looks a lot like Shadowmoon Valley. It's green, it's dark, it's infused with fell magic, so you kind of get that feeling of nostalgia for Shadowmoon Valley, while you still recognize the new designs there, which is really cool, and you have the same features on the Demon Hunter themselves as the area that they're in, so you immediately get the feeling of familiarity there. So the quest line for the starting experience is very self-contained, and I like that. It starts you out with you being the leader of these Illidari forces that are going into Mardum, and you are immediately introduced to these other guys that kind of follow you, but they are giving you things to do. So in turn, you are leading the forces of the Broken, the Ashtongue tribe that follows Illidan. You command the Coil Scar, which are the Naga that follow Illidan, and also the Shivara, which are rogue demons that decided to abandon the Burning Legion in favor of following the Illidari. And what happens next is that you basically get to this area known as the Fellhammer. You go in and fight the demon leader in there, the Brood Queen, and then you take the Sargerite keystone that Illidan sent you to get, and then you return to the Black Temple, not the Broken Temple, what am I saying here? Return to the Black Temple, and you try to help Illidan with the invaders that are us, technically, which is really cool to think about. And you're too late, and then you get captured by Maiev, Shadowsong, and the Wardens, and you're put into the prison. Now that's like the first arc of the storyline, which is the longest part of the Demon Hunter experience. And I thought that endpoint there, it felt really satisfying because it's shown in a cutscene again, and the cutscene is well made, and it starts you off immediately into the next part, which kind of drags you into present time right after the events of the Broken Shore and the Burning Legion invasion, and you're kind of thrown right in there. Now, if you talk about the motivations for the different factions here, you have the Illidari. They kind of have this internal struggle going on between being a demon, being a citizen of Azeroth, and then their fear of turning into the thing they're fighting against, which is kind of like the main struggle we have with the Demon Hunter. It's kind of similar to what is going on with Worgen, where the Worgen, they they lose their minds, and then they become feral, then they tame the struggles within them. The demon hunters, they do have a more sense of urgency in what they do. They talk quicker. They have, I guess they're more aggressive in the way they act towards the Burning Legion. They know the threat is present, and they know this threat is fiercer than maybe the other citizens of Azeroth, because they do feel the demonic presence within themselves. And this is kind of like a parallel to the warlocks in the game. The warlocks communicate with the demons, and they use kind of the power of evil, in quotation marks here, against the Burning Legion. Now, the demon hunters are released by Maiev. Maiev has really strange character progression in the game and in the novels, so it's kind of strange that she just decides to release the demon hunters. She is very, very zealous when it comes to how she thinks about Illidan and how she thinks about the demon hunters. So her turning, not sure how that really fits into her character, but it might also signify that there is a great emergency when she actually is the one that acts toward freeing them. And also the betrayal of Cordana Felsong of the Wardens also kind of triggers this immediate urgency. If Maiev didn't release the demon hunters, perhaps she would have, and they would be released. This is like one part of the intro area that is kind of strange to me right now, because we don't know anything else about the storyline, about how it happens with Illidan. At least I don't know about that storyline. But Gul'dan and Cordana kind of opens up this vault when we get there, and then they try to they steal Illidan. Illidan's corpse is captured in here in the Vault of the Wardens, and they steal that, and they try to take it to the Legion somehow, and they are successful, and we have to flee. So the whole Vault of the Wardens area is basically a huge failure. We are being invaded. We have to get out of here as quickly as possible, and I thought that was really reflected in a lot of the stuff that happened there. Additionally, the area also kind of reflects what is going to happen in the Vault of the Wardens dungeon, which is coming up in Legion, and it kind of introduces us to different areas, maybe some mechanics that you do when you kind of fight against these smaller bosses in the area. It might be reintroduced when fighting those bosses in the dungeon, so that's really nice. When people can or developers can take a mechanic and then reintroduce it later with some additional finesse, that's a really nice way to teaching you how to handle things, which is good. And at the end there, we leave with Khadgar to go to your respective area, whether it's Orgrimmar, whether it is Stormwind. In the meanwhile there is one thing that kind of bugged me, and that is the fact that you watch this cutscene that is basically the Harbinger cinematic video that has been released on YouTube, where Illidan talks to his Illidari about this whole internal struggle between the demonic feelings and being a hero, an anti-hero of sorts. And then immediately afterwards, you have to choose between whether you want Altreus the Sufferer, or this other guy, Sane something, Dawnblade. No, that's not his name. But anyway, the Blood Elf or the Night Elf, and whether you want, who of these two you want to follow you. Now, Altreus, he went against Illidan's thoughts during the Burning Crusade, and he was an opponent to Illidan. While the other guy, he was a devout follower of Illidan. Now, that's the question kind of poses whether it's worth it to sacrifice everything to beat the Burning Legion, or whether there is a more moderate route you can take. So you kind of have to decide that out of nothing, really, and then you pick either one of them. Not sure what the consequences of that choice will be, but I'm going to choose both of them on two separate demon hunters. Then I'm going to research that when Legion comes out, and that will be fun, hopefully. Maybe there'll be some dialogue changes between those and give some flavor to the class. So those are my thoughts on the storyline at the starting area. Gameplay wise, I felt like the Demon Hunter was very fun to play with. There was one thing that was kind of strange with the way the specs worked out. So you start out with a Havoc spec, and then when you get to the Fellhammer, when you're done with most of the quest lines, you'll be able to switch between Havoc and Vengeance spec, which is the tank spec. And that choice, it feels kind of binary, because you do the same quest after accepting both of these two different specializations from this Book of Secrets. And you get more spells, of course, after that quest, but it still feels kind of like you're locked into your choice for the rest of that area. So I'm not really sure how to feel about that. I know that the areas are kind of designed to be played with as a Havoc Demon Hunter from the start. So I realized that to avoid the confusion of kind of having a worse starting experience could be limited by having you not been able to select between Vengeance and Havoc from the beginning. However, I would like to see that after this point where you specialize, that you could kind of swap between those. You could regret your choice or something like that afterwards. And if you can, then I must have missed that point. And in that case, then it should have been made more obvious that you can choose between them after that point. Because whenever I try out a new class or anything new in the game, really, I just want to experiment with it immediately after I start. Which is what I did. But gameplay-wise, I'll talk more about the Demon Hunter when we get the artifact, and then I can compare it to the other classes when they have their artifact as well. I feel like talking about the gameplay now without the artifacts, which are so essential to the rotation, to how they play out, I kind of feel that is disingenuous at this current moment in time. But what I was talking about previously with Havoc being like the primary thing at the beginning, the way the zone is constructed of Mardum is really fitting to how the Demon Hunters play, and also the Vault of the Wardens, how they are able to move around. Because the Demon Hunters, they have the double jump, which makes you able to jump twice, and then you can glide afterwards. You can see that this is immediately taught to you at the start of the game, because you kind of start in a downward slope, and this gives you the ability to fly kind of long distances, and it'll transport you pretty further on. And you're also taught to move a lot, because a lot of the monsters in the area do use these AoE abilities on the ground. You can use the dashes to move out of them, and you basically learn how to play the class in these tough scenarios. And that's really, really nice compared to many of the other starting areas or starting quests that don't teach you anything at all to give you any benefit in dungeons, in raids, and stuff like that. Also, one of the coolest things about the Demon Hunter throughout the starting zone is the way you feel immersed when learning your abilities. So the Demon Hunters, they kind of defeat these dangerous enemies, and they rip their abilities from the enemies and take them for themselves. So you kind of rip the eyes out of a demon, and then you get the eye beam spell, and you fight against the Doom Lord, and you get the, what's it called, magic burn or something like that, the interrupt spell, and then you gain a lot of powers throughout the area, and they kind of don't overload you with abilities from the very start. This is the same with the talents. You only have 2 rows of talents at the end when you reach level 100, at the end of these starting zones, and you get more throughout the Broken Isles. So they do have less talents than the other classes, at level 100, but they will have the same at the end at 110. Now, those are the thoughts I basically had on the Demon Hunter until now, and I'll talk more about the abilities and the gameplay of all the different classes when the artifacts are out, as I said previously. Now, to summarize my thoughts here, the Demon Hunter starting zone is probably the best one in the game as of right now, and the class is fun to play as. The zone is really laid out to teach you how to play the Demon Hunter, which is really nice compared to a lot of the other starting experiences for different other classes. The storyline of the starting area really tells you about the core internal class fantasy of the Demon Hunter that is being beaten into your head by Blizzard, this class fantasy concept. And they do that decently well. I think some of the cutscenes are really well done, except for that one part which is a bit strange with the choosing between these 2 characters, but might work out really well at the further Legion goes on. I hope you guys enjoyed me rambling here about the Demon Hunters. These are basically just my thoughts. I throw them into the microphone towards you, and yeah, whether you agree or disagree, please leave a comment down below and tell me about how you felt about the Demon Hunter starting experience. And also, don't forget to like the video if you did enjoy it. I appreciate that a lot, very much. Thank you. Oh, yes. If you want more information or more fun on World of Warcraft, please consider subscribing to the channel and checking out the playlist I have linked to in the description below, as it will take you to the playthrough I'll have of Legion, and also Leveling Legacy, where we go and do lots of lore related stuff in World of Warcraft. I've been Crudless, thank you for watching, and see you next time.